Introducing our next brave storyteller, Amanda Vocks.
I don't know how I'm supposed to go after that, but here I am. So I don't want to talk about it anymore. I sit down and try to write about it, and I feel gross. I don't want to talk about losing my mom. I don't want to talk about the depression or the panic or anxiety attacks. I don't want to sit in those moments anymore. I don't want to think about those times in the same way I did then. I don't want to write about those times over and over again in the same way. I don't want to carry them in the same way as I did then. I can't. I can't talk about them in the same way anymore because it feels like a step back, because I don't really feel the same way about them anymore. I am experiencing all of those things, but just in a different way now. That's what my counselor would call progress. I feel different. I am different. And each year I became different. Each year I grew and healed and changed. I don't feel as hopeless as I did then. I don't feel as lost. I don't feel as embarrassed by OCD or anxiety or the fact that sometimes I just feel down. I still have days, though, where I don't feel very strong at all. Days where the anxiety has built up so much that I feel like I need to just go to bed, cuddle with cute stuffed animals, and watch Hallmark movies. But when I feel that way, I try to remind myself that it's okay to initiate self-care. I try to remind myself that it's okay if I do need to go to bed, cuddle cute stuffed animals, and watch a ton of Hallmark movies. I can't always be strong. No one really can. But now, I also try to challenge myself. When I feel like things are heavy and hard, I ask myself, do I need to go to bed? Or can I sit in the living room, watch TV, talk to my sister, and try to paint cute little paintings? I try to ask myself, what would be good for me? Am I giving in to the anxiety, or am I practicing self-care? OCD, anxiety, panic, depression, and fear, they are all part of me. Unfortunately, that's just the truth. But what I know now is that that's okay. It's okay that those things are part of me, because I know now they don't have to be all of me. They don't have to have all the control over me. They don't have to stop me. It will be hard to fight them, but hey, I've been doing it for a while now. I am not only different in who I am different in the way I am. Anxiety and OCD, they gave me something. They gave me years of torture, that is very true, but they also gave me something else too. The constant overthinking about every little thing gave me great attention to detail, and I am fantastic at my job now. I just have to find a way to use that attention to detail to make me feel good, to do good, to fulfill me. I can also relate to people. I can understand how hard it is to deal with anxiety, to fight anxiety. I can listen to your stories, and I can give you my perspective and my strategies. I can self-reflect, and I can encourage others to ask for help. I can describe to you what happens in a typical counselor meeting and help you prepare for your own so you feel more at ease. I can encourage you to see that you are more than your mental health. We are all more than our mental health. We are all more than the labels that get applied to us. But we can also be thankful for those labels, because being labeled can mean that someone can help us. Recently, I talked to a group of 5th grade students about the art performance series I created a few years ago called Welcome to Anxiety. And I talked to them about mental health. I asked them to draw or write about a time that they experienced anxiety. And this group of 5th graders created honest, moving pieces of art. Then I asked them to share the art with the class. To my surprise, basically every student wanted to share theirs. Students stood in front of the class and shared their anxieties, from a fear of clowns to the anxiety of being the new kid in class, to the fear about their parents' well-being and health. I was moved by this vulnerability these kids showed at one of the most awkward times in their adolescence. I created a space for them, as I attempt to do with Welcome to Anxiety, where they could talk about the things that make them anxious and their experiences with mental health. I was able to do that because I once needed an outlet for my own mental health and to process the loss of my mother. Thus, Welcome to Anxiety was born. My counselor asked me why I might be afraid of getting better. And I told her it was because I had had anxiety and OCD for a really long time, for longer than I had my mother. I had them when I had my mother. And now the memories of my mother are fading. And OCD and anxiety feel like my only connection to her now. And getting better means losing that connection. Since that was a negative statement, my counselor asked me to come up with a positive. I said, maybe getting better can mean honoring my mother. And this is all part of why I don't want to talk about it in the same way anymore. I want to talk about where I am now. My experiences are part of who I am, as our experiences are all part of who we are. I want to share mine with you, but I just don't want to talk about it in the same way as I did before. I don't want to talk about it from the perspective of 14-year-old me. I want to talk about it in the way I feel it now. Some days are hard. Some days the anxiety is so strong and I get mean and sad and scared and I need a hug. Some days I see my anxiety and I tell it, I don't have time for you today. So yes, anxiety, OCD, fear, panic, and depression are part of me, and they have played a part in who I am, but they are not who I am. I want to get to the point where they are just quiet, little, well-behaved characteristics that are part of me but don't define me, like my dimples or the fact that I blush really easily. They all tell stories, but I am the loudest. I want to control them, and I want the power. I want you to know that I felt anxiety and OCD so strongly that I would spend hours crying, and I didn't know what to do, and I felt so hopeless and lost, and like those were the only things I was ever going to feel. I want you to know that I lost my mom to cancer when I was 14. I became an orphan, and I had to grow up fast. I want you to know that I froze when my mom passed away, and I didn't progress like a normal teenager or even person. I want you to know that anxiety and its friends really affected me, and still do, but I don't want to talk about it from the perspective of the past, which is such a huge achievement for me and would make my counselor very proud. I want to talk to you about it now, after years of counseling and maturing and growing and building myself up. I want to talk to you about it from this perspective, and from the moments that I do feel strong, because I don't want you to feel like you will never feel strong. I also don't want to confuse my own mind into thinking I need to still feel the way I did when things were really bad, because I spent a really long time trying to convince myself to stop doing that. I want to be able to talk about it, reflect on it, but not fall back into it. I want to keep getting stronger and feeling better and making myself proud. I want to honor my mother. Thank you.